hello out there, wherever you are. As for me, well, I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on a business trip, and I decided that I was going to check out the burial site for the 15th President of the United States, James Buchanan. And let's talk a little bit about him and his legacy, and just let's get into it. On Tom Was Here.
Hey, how do you like this? I'm Dan Israel, and you're watching Tom Was Here.
Now, if you want to come check this out, this is at the Woodward Hill Cemetery in Lancaster. And yeah, here's the 15th President of the United States, James Buchanan. Now, history was not kind to James in the long run. He never made a hardline stance on the Civil War, and basically saw the states kind of divide under his watch. And also, he was followed up by Abraham Lincoln. You know, when you watch a movie that's not really all that great, and then you watch a great movie, like you're like, oh, I'm watching Geely. You know what I'm going to watch after that? The Godfather. Maybe, Geely is historic. I mean, Geely's a historically bad movie. Maybe that's a bad example. But, it's, in the long run, he didn't help his situation by not taking a stance on the Civil War, and because the states started to divide kind of under his presidency. So he is recognized as one of the worst presidents of all time. So, I mean, that's historically, please, if you're buried here, it's very cool that you're buried near a former president of the United States. I ran into this issue. I had a guy that really came at me. I went to the Millard Fillmore burial site in Buffalo, and I basically also stated that he was historically one of the worst presidents of all time, because he is. And there was a guy that had family buried at that cemetery, and he came after me like I was insulting his family, like I was, he was, I asked him, I was like, are you related to Millard Fillmore? He's like, no, but I have family buried there. And I'm like, well, you're not, I'm not even insulting Millard Fillmore. I'm just stating the fact that historians put him as one of the worst presidents of all time. And unfortunately, historians also rate Buchanan as one of the worst presidents of all time because of his lack to unify the nation during the Civil War. Now, if you have family that are buried here, like I said, it is cool that you are buried near a former president. I am not insulting you. I'm not insulting your family. I'm just saying what historians say about James Buchanan. So, I just want to make that position clear. I'm out here visiting him. I'm paying my respects. And look, let's make it easy for you. If you are buried here, you are buried nearby one of the top 50 presidents of all time. The top 50 U.S. presidents of all time. Nobody can take that away from you. So, as long as you know. So just want to make that position clear, because we ran into a Millard Fillmore issue, and I want to make sure James doesn't get the same treatment. So this cemetery has been around a long time. As you can see, James Buchanan, born April 23rd, 1791, died at Wheatland, which is actually nearby. I believe that's nearby, is the James Buchanan house, June 1st, 1868. So he has definitely, this has been here for a while. And I don't know if this stone has been here for this long. Is this a new stone that they put up? Like, were these kind of the original, or maybe they have a War of 1812 honor of service marker and a War of 1812 veteran, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know if this is newer. Maybe someone who is more familiar can enlighten me on that, if this is a newer headstone versus some of the other ones. Let's go around back and see. There's a couple rocks, some coins that they put up on here for safe travels, a painted rock. Yeah, it just says Buchanan on the other side. I did want to, because I haven't done much of this, and just like put your hand just to say you were there. I do like the Jimbo Bushy, the 15th rock. Jimbo. That's admittedly funny. Kudos to whoever left that. They got a flag on there. It's really cool. Jimbo Bushy. That's what I'm gonna call him for all time now. Jimbo Bushy. Wow, that's terrific. As you can see in some of these gravestones that are here, 1889, 1877. I mean, this, like I said, this cemetery has to be one of the oldest in the country. I know Lancaster's been around since like the 1700s, so it's very possible. I don't know what the R's stand for. Does anybody know that? But yeah, this one kind of fell off here, unfortunately. But yeah, 1877 it's been here, so. But it's cool that they got the, kind of the divider around it. And they do have a few signs, although it's not like the best marked one I've ever been to. And the flag, of course, as well. I mean, he is a president of the United States. Good or bad. Once you're one of them, you're in. They can't take it away from you. You did it. So, but yeah, obviously not, it's a smaller gravesite compared to some of the others that I had seen. And it seems every president kind of has their own different style gravesite. The first one I went to, I was kind of spoiled on, was William McKinley in Canton, Ohio. It looks like a national monument. I mean, if it was in Washington, D.C., it wouldn't look out of place. So by comparison, people like Millard Fillmore that I went to in Buffalo and James Buchanan here are smaller, simpler by comparison. So, it doesn't mean that they're bad. I mean, obviously you're paying respect to a former president that has the various markers here. But yeah, you wonder, I do wonder if this is the original or if they redid this marker. So maybe let me know in the comments down below. So yeah, the big issue is Buchanan acknowledged that slavery was morally wrong, but he also acknowledged that the federal government didn't have to interfere with individual states' rights. So it was the continental divide of basically the main issue of where everybody stood and did nothing to unify the nation in that regard. But I knew I was nearby, so I figured I would check out the James Buchanan home Wheatland because it's right in the area. I don't know if it's something where I can go down there and just check it out, or it says there's tours and touring, but I'm just gonna walk down here and see what the deal is. So this is Wheatland. This is James Buchanan's home until when he died, I believe. He was the only president to never marry, which was interesting. And I believe he was a popular president for the time. It's just that history reflected that he, like I said, history was not kind to James Buchanan, as mentioned. But yeah, it's really cool. Really nice house he died in 1868, so it had to be built before then. But yeah, I think he bought this and the all surrounding property here, 20 acres or something, which is now the Lancaster Historical Society, and I believe they opened this for tours, of which I unfortunately do not have the time to partake on, because I have to head back. You always wonder why Buchanan was the only president from Pennsylvania. I mean, they signed the Declaration of Independence in Pennsylvania, so why was he the only president to represent the state of Pennsylvania? Was it because of the history, or just Pennsylvania doesn't deliver any major political candidates of any kind? Yeah, I always found it odd that a state, a commonwealth, if you were, has so much history that they couldn't get another president in the office. But I don't know. What are you going to do? So that was apparently the back door of Wheatland. This would be the front. And I can certainly see and understand that. That looks like a more stately front. I mean, for sure a big house, I would assume, compared to other houses in the area at that time. Obviously he was a former president, so that's that plays a factor. But yeah, it's really nice. It's pretty well preserved for the most part. Obviously, it's a house that's been around for, coming up on 200 years now. Coming up very quickly on 200 years. So really cool that it's kind of kept and looking pretty good. So I don't know. I don't know if they do house tours. I kind of came here on a whim because I was like, well, I know the gravesite's here. Is the house here? And sure enough, it's here. Yeah, this was the place that he retired after, basically he retired, said he wasn't going to run for a second term, and retired here after his presidency with the nation on the brink of war. Like, they were ready. They were ready to just start fighting, and they did. You wonder, as much as I said, like, he did not, history was not kind to him, of course, and that he didn't do anything to unify the nation, of course, but you wonder if they were heading down that road anyway. Like, is it one of those things that you run into an impossible situation? A situation that you can't, like no matter what you say, you weren't going to fix it. Like, if he sided with the Union states, I guess you could say, then the Confederate states would have still separated and went to war. If he sided with the separate states, then the Union states would have, divided and gone to war. Like, there's no win. There was no major win. He was just trying to hold the reins as long as he could. But yeah, it's just, unfortunately, you run into that situation where you're in an impossible situation. You're really going to do nothing. I mean, not only you can't do nothing about it, but then he really didn't do anything about it. And then Abraham Lincoln comes in and, obviously, the person that comes in the office after you is widely considered one of the greatest presidents of all time. That's a hard situation to, legacy-wise, determine that you can't actually keep up. So, oh well. But yes, this is Wheatland, James Buchanan's home. It's weird that he wasn't buried here. Like, I know a lot of presidents are kind of buried at their either homes or childhood homes or presidential libraries. But he chose to be buried in a regular cemetery. Maybe he didn't choose. He didn't have a life, so I don't know whoever decided to. I don't know if he had a will or there were wills in that day or anything of like instructions on what to do when he had passed. So I don't know. Maybe someone can enlighten me in the comments down below in that regard. I would have liked to have gone on that tour. Maybe next year. I think I might be possibly in the area again next year. So maybe next year I'll go on the full Wheatland tour experience. But sadly, I got to get back and have many more stops to go. Well, that'll do it. Just a quick little trip to see the final resting place of the 15th President of the United States, James Buchanan. It's always cool to see, one of these. And the fact is that, unlike some of them, they're in a public cemetery. It's not like it's, there's people that are buried nearby. And it's not all of them have their own presidential library or presidential, resting place at like their childhood home, like I know some of them do. So I don't think James Buchanan has a library. From what I know, he does not. I know certain presidents don't. But yeah, the majority of presidents, especially the more recent presidents, do have a library somewhere. And not all presidents are buried at their kind of library or birthplace. Some are buried at just a regular cemetery, like James Buchanan. But that'll do it. The James Buchanan final resting place, Lancaster, PA. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If If you are new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to support me on Patreon like John Bailey did, you can do so. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, a Tomwashere t-shirt, you can do so at Spreadshirt, as well as links to my eBay store, Facebook page, Instagram, Clubhouse, and the Pennsylvania Autograph Collectors Association. Links are in the description below. James Buchanan. What are your thoughts on James Buchanan's legacy? Do you feel that maybe he wouldn't have been looked on as bad? Now, do you feel that he wouldn't have been looked on as bad as president if Lincoln wasn't the next president? Or did he really just do a bad job by seeing the states divide under his watch by making not a hardline stand, knowing that they were going to divide and not really doing anything about it? Let me know in the comments down below. But guys, thanks so much for watching. And when it comes to the James Buchanan burial site, Lancaster, PA, I can officially say that my name is Tom and I was here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye, everyone.